Hello, Alyssa here. The video, my face is not going to look great because it never does on Zoom, but it's what we got to share the PowerPoint. So, um, today I'm going to be talking about the Hunger Games and how it relates to nature and society. So let's start off with, gosh darn it, oh there. What is society? So basically, society is how um, just a people decide to rule, like together. So you have the government, which is like how the body agrees to be ruled, like who's doing it, who gets to be in charge, who makes the laws, who decides things. And then you have culture, which would be language, art, food, dance, something that unites the society. This just whether it's artistic or practical. Economic, I always think of this as like how items in a society are distributed and how like they agree on their system to work. So there's capitalism, socialism. Bartering used to be an acceptable means, but like that's not really done anymore. And then education, how a society is like preparing their young, how people learn new things within it. What is nature? Um, Whenever I think of nature, I always think of that Thomas Hobbes quote, the natural condition of mankind. Basically, if there was no government or rules, what would happen? Think Lord of the Flies. And it's, associated with killings, rape, theft, and other crime that basically without government, we would all die, which would be sad. Um, so let's move on to, I'm sorry, I have to pull up more of the, so nature in society. Whenever we think of natural within a society, we're thinking of how we expect people to act on a regular basis. Like, you don't expect to see someone doing certain things. Like, I feel like New York is the exception to the rule, um, where, people just out in Elmo suits. Anyways, so you have social and gender norms. So you expect to see women doing this or men doing that. And this is how you expect people to act at school. And within our readings, we think of some terms that relate our ideological behavior, how you expect people to act, but those who go against it are labeled as neurotic or psychotic. So everyday lifestyle and class. Most people go through the same activities every day: wake up, breakfast, work, lunch, sleep, hobbies, whatever you fill your day with. But these activities, I feel like what causes these to range the most is class and income. For example, rich people have time to cook really healthy meals. They have time to do things, like time is a giant luxury. But if you're lower class, you might not have time to spend that much on your food or get like the best healthy meals. It all depends on what you have available money wise. So that's just one example of how things could differ. So let's move on to the Hunger Games. Um, so in district, one thing about the districts in place in the film and comparing where we have been brought up, what type of district or class did you get brought up in? When it comes to districts, I like you've got the rich capital who basically oversee and that they're living a great life. And then you have those more poverty the further you go out. So 10, 11, 12, they've got it rough. I I definitely didn't grow up rich, but I was a middle class. I always had what I needed, a roof above my head, got to eat out, which was nice. So maybe somewhere in the middle. I don't know. I don't think I'd be rich enough to be in the career, but I'm the middle. Now, if I had a whole society like that overtake me, I'd probably be poorer, but it'd be okay. Now, how is Hunger Games like reality TV? It's clearly fictional, but the movie is about a brutal reality TV show. We basically see people tuning in for their daily dose of like, man, it's teen love. Like, let's forget the fact that they're all killing each other. What's the gossip? And like Haymitch explains it best when Peter declares his love for Katniss and she gets really angry about it. That you need to portray yourself in ways likable. You need the public to root for you because this could all determine whether or not you are allowed to live. And for the people watching it, they just want a good show. They want to be entertained, while the Capitol is a little bit more worried about what they're putting out there. So that's one of the issues. And today there are still similar class differences. You have those who work in the city and white collar jobs, and then those, easier, higher pay, and then you have blue collar jobs, tougher pay, longer hours. And there kind of are people who are like at the capital level where they're just so removed, but they're kind of just watching everyone else do their thing. And then there's just such separation between people that I would say that's the biggest similarity. Um, and then differences in pay affect how people survive. So there's people who kind of live like District 12, where it's like they just have to survive day by day. And then there's people who have more time for luxuries. No. What I want to talk about, the closest thing of like the way I definitely see Hunger Games today, if we're talking about like, do we have anything like Hunger Games on TV? Yes. And I think it's true crime. I have a lot of thoughts about this now that I was thinking about it. And we always like, man, how could people watch people kill each other? It's so brutal. But we watch things like true crime. And while like it's not like live, we get enjoyment being like, wow, how did he do it? That's like it's interesting and we treat it like this wasn't something that happened to someone, that this wasn't like a real person with a family before something horrific happened to them. Um, Honestly, I feel like I could do a TED talk on that now. But in the short time that we have together, the end. I love the Hunger Games. If you're Team Gale, what are you doing with your life? Because he's low-key a war criminal, and it's only because he's hot, but Peeta is the better choice. Um, that's so off topic, but thank you for tuning in. Okay.